Hey Axis and Allies players, the good captain here. Welcome to part 3, or turn 3, a review of Russia's turn 3 and the execution of Western Europe turn 3 in this game of East and West played against a human opponent. The Russians roll a tech dice, their free tech dice, on the armor tree to try to secure self-propelled artillery. This allows access to a new unit that is actually pretty cheap. It's only $4, moves like a tank, attacks at a 1 pip higher than a tank at a 4, but it defends only at a 1. So it's got the same cost and name as artillery in G40 or Anniversary, but otherwise it's a little different. But they missed. Okay, so moving on. The purchase otherwise is spent on max infantry, so 34 infantry are purchased. Yeah, all 68 IPC spent. Combat move. As you can see, there's a lot of activity in the Middle East, but we'll stop. I'll end there. I'm going to start with the mop-up. So yeah, we did a lot of nuisance raids as NATO in the previous turn, and so this is the Soviet response. The cleanup includes 3 out of 4 areas that NATO managed to secure. So Yugoslavia gets hit, Norway gets hit, Kamchatka gets hit, South Korea is left alone. Then the Soviets hit Afghanistan, which is a straight neutral, and then they attack the Arab League, which is this yellow area here. And again, this is a rule unique to this variant of Axis and Allies. This league operates as essentially a power that's out of the war until it's the only people that can attack it are the Soviets. The only side that can attack it is the Soviets, and they do so. This is something the Janus has game theoried with me offline. But this is the first time we've ever done this, or I've seen this done by them in the game. Now, I've never done it because I always felt like it was creating. The Soviets have enough problems. We have enough enemies to fight as it is. But I do understand the counter argument, and so this will be fun to exercise something totally off the wall and new here. But I want to go back to this, the cleanup. Essentially, the Syria and Iraq. Oh, sorry, I didn't finish. So that once the Arab League is attacked, it picks a side. Obviously, it goes to NATO, but I mean, it picks a side on NATO. In this the game rules, it aligns with Western Europe. So I put the pips or the roundels on the territories that don't end up getting occupied here. But and all their units activate on the side of Western Europe, and they function as territories of the Western Europeans from now on. I guess in AAA, these would all be gray territories right now. So, as you can see, we have an industry back here, an AA gun. We got new pieces, we got new income, but the Soviets are attacking the first line of Syria and Iraq off the bat, and we have 2 infantry each here and here. And this is overall a fairly warm Soviet turn. Because despite the overwhelming force that each of these territories is attacked by, most of them have a not off the spectrum of possibility of going into a second round. So it ends up being, I'm just going to cut to the chase and say I have a total of 10 defending NATO infantries across the board, including the newly NATO-aligned Syria and Iraq. And we only get 2 hits. So 10 infantry defending at 2, you'd expect at least 3, possibly a 4th. So we're already down, a kill and a 3rd. But there actually is a fairly respectable opportunity across all of these that at least 1 and probably 2 would go to a second round of combat. So factoring that in, the fact that the Soviets smashed everything on the first round, everywhere, we're probably more likely down a theoretical -2. And that's where I say it's a warm Soviet turn. But that's okay. They deserve it. And it probably, at this point in the game, both sides have probably beat each other up roughly equally. In terms of the dice, I don't think it's been over or under too much. Okay, let's move on. So the Soviets essentially compensate for the IPC loss from the diplomatic breakthrough of China, picking up Iraq and Syria. They also clean out all the areas that they counterattacked, picking up Pakistan here. Yeah, So, non-combat move, there's a shuffling of pieces, placement, a heavy placement in Western Europe. All of the territories that they could for or adjacent territories or territories captured previous turn in the Middle East, and the obligatory defensive structuring in the Soviet East. So I already rolled the Western Europeans' diplomatic effort, and it failed, which is fine. We have, I think it's 21. Yeah, it's 21. So we get 7 infantry. Pretty easy. And then we'll go ahead to the combat move, which there's none. So we'll skip the combat move and combat and go straight to non-combat. Okay, so I've done the arrows. I'm going to push all the pieces and then I'll review the response NATO's going to give to this encroachment against the Arab League. First, Saudi Arabia moves to Jordan. All the assets in Egypt move to Jordan. So already we can see the counter strategy coming into view. This new fighter from Egypt lands in Jordan. The fighter that was in Sudan moves 2 spaces into Jordan. The 2 fighters in France go into Jordan. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. The bomber, lands in Egypt. 2. Yeah. The transports are going to pick up 4 infantry off of Italy and move south past the Suez, 1, 2, and unload into Jordan. I don't know why we did it that way. Yeah. Okay. The sub tags along. Just to we have to respect the fact that the Soviet Air Force is here in such force. So we need escorts. We need to team up and just huddle up and blah blah blah. Okay. Okay. Now in the east, Burma moves to India. This transport, or the troop in Burma moves to India. This transport. This kind of put everything. The normal flow of the game has been turned on its head. So I'm basically reacting, trying to make lemonade. I see an opportunity to get this British infantry off of Queensland and not do much else. We have to respect this bomber's range. It can range out to the South China Sea, so single transports on their own are going to be vulnerable there. Not too keen on having the British load up and float out there. I don't know if that's the right move or not, but anyway, that's the move we're making. So that's it. Let's go to the placement phase and we'll discuss more. Okay, here we are with our 7 builds. We of course drop 4 off in Egypt. That's the max build. 2 for the value of the territory and an additional a doubling of the value essentially because of the industrial complex. So I'm putting 4 infantry there. And then, whoops, I have to do this weird thing. This is I'll call it the paratrooper tax. We have to place an infantry in Madagascar because the bomber can reach 1, 2, 3. And since we are not likely to have any means of recapture anytime soon, and since every IPC matters, we kind of have to pay that. It might become useful later, but you know, the Soviets are the attacker in this version of Axis and Allies, so they're going to maintain the initiative until they don't. And for now they do. And with these last 2, we of course drop these into Jordan. Okay. Bringing our total defense up to 15 pieces so far of infantry, plus armor and 4 fighters. So we are actually totally neglecting reinforcing our own capital region for this round at least. But this was a fairly traumatic event, and so it's going to require, and I can afford to respond in this way, so it requires a traumatic response in my study of it anyway. Let's continue. One upside to this is that we do collect, we were normally collecting 21, and this turn we collect 29. Of course, we are ceding the territory of Saudi Arabia, which is an economic boon for our opponent, but you know, we are going to hold, or ostensibly hold, the strategically vital area of the Jordan. So, you know, we'll do what we can. All right, we have, yeah, 29, and let's move straight into the UK turn. I already have the diplomacy die popped up here. And, you know, this is a low probability event, all of them, but, you know, over time, I really like statistics and probabilities, and you know, we got that breakthrough on the opening die roll, and you know, 1 in 6 happens almost 50% of the time with 4 dice. So this was our 5th dice and of diplomacy, and to get 1 breakthrough, we're well within you know, probability. The reason I think it's, you know, critical, at least as NATO in this game, is because you can move, like you've just seen, it makes a big difference. China's almost always, I think, should be the first one to get diplomacied. But you can also bring in a lot of gear and equipment. You know, by Spain is once we get our second breakthrough, it's probably going to be Spain because it's 3 IPCs and there's a fighter in there and an armor and a bunch of infantry. So, you know, it's good. It's good business. This is a very dicey game as it is in my experience, and playing in what I call the third dimension like that, at least as NATO, seems the right play, at least for me. That's how I think that's right now, for now. The purchase for the UK is going to be, I think we calculated it out as 12 infantry. Let me double check, quick pause. Yeah, 12 should do it for what we have planned. 36, so we have 6 left. 6 in the bank. I should adjust the IPCs. I'm bad at that. Okay, Western Europe at 29. All right, moving on. Okay, here's the combat move for the UK. Obviously, we need to try to wrest control of Pakistan back. So, yeah, the infantry, armor, fighter from India hit, but the Red Sea will throw in its fighter as well. So 2 there. So 3 movement left on this guy, 2 movement left on that guy. Okay, what else? These 2 British infantry in Italy push into Yugoslavia. And I'm going to send in a fighter for 2, and 1 of these bombers for 2. The other bomber is going to hit Norway, and we're going to transfer 2 infantry. So this is kind of a, yeah, this could fail. I understand that, but yeah, let's keep pecking. Let's keep up the spoiling attacks for whatever they're worth. So that's it. Norway, Yugoslavia, and Pakistan. Okay, first up we have UK attacks Pakistan. Round 1 with an infantry, 2 fighters, and an armor. We're just looking for 1, 3 or less. It's overkill, and the Russians hit back. They're 1 infantry. Miss. We adjust the IPCs, fix the units up, which we've done, and continue. So we'll do Yugoslavia now. UK attacks Yugoslavia. Round 1, we have 2 infantry, 1 fighter, 1 bomber. Load it up, submit. 1 of the infantry hit, and the fighter hit, and a bomber hit. Okay, so we'll roll back with 2 Russian infantry. Okay, there's just over a 50% chance that there's a hit here, and that's a miss. Okay. So again, we remove the Russian pieces. This time we get a UK roundel, and we'll adjust the IPCs. 35, 65. Okay, we'll do Norway as the final battle. This time we have some offshore, which we need at least one hit really to secure this. Cruiser's going to offshore, battleship offshore. This is round 1, so I'm just going to throw them all together because there's only 2 defending pieces, both of the same type. The battleship connects and the bomber connects. So we cleared the territory and the Russians will roll back with 1 infantry. Okay, 1 back, 33%, and a miss. So as we remove the Russian presence, we'll move this up a technical 2 for the Western Europeans, which they'll never see. Let's go to the UK non-combat move. Okay, we'll start down here. This Queensland infantry loads up onto the Western European transport. The Ceylonese infantry and 1 infantry from India load onto this transport. The Burmese push India. Okay, well, no surprise here. The armor pops out of Pakistan. The fighter from the carrier returns to the carrier. The fighter from India goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and into what is this? Jordan. Okay. The transport moves in to the Red Sea and drops off 2 infantry in Jordan, as does the submarine. I'll just stack them up because we're all going here. Then the South African fleet moves up, picks up 2 infantry, brings these up, drops them off in Jordan. The cruiser heads up here. Okay, so it's all, this armor comes to Sudan. We're not going further for reasons in a moment that will be discussed. RAF pulls back. Wait a minute. Not you. The RAF fighter pulls back into France. The RAF bomber from Norway pulls back into France. This UK sub goes west of Portugal. Ooh, gotta do this. We're gonna shuck the Canadians in. 1 picks these pieces up. 2 drops these pieces off. And let's send 2 more to Italy. Okay, so it's like that. And this Ontario infantry moves to Quebec. This British bomber from Yugoslavia is going to, yeah, we're gonna land in Egypt. So we can do that because coming from France, yeah, plenty of movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So now we got 2 bombers in Egypt. And that's just to be near the relevant action. Yeah. Yeah. So of our 12 infantry, we're going to drop 3 into India. Just keep feeding the beast. 1 in Burma. And here we have to pay the paratrooper tax again. We're going to have to put 1 in Tanganyika. Yeah, they really reached for those names on this board, didn't they? 1, 2, 3. Yep. Mozambique is also kind of under threat, so that's, you know, I'll dead zone it with 2 British infantry and an armor. So all those assets can reach it, and all of them can head north into Egypt. Okay, 6 left. What on earth was I going to do? Oh, that's right. This one goes here, Sudan. This one goes here. And the last 4 I wanted, I know that it was 3 in London, or England, or whatever, to make 5, and the 6th in Quebec. That's 3 transport loads. Ah, I remember. Yeah, it's Ceylon. And this again is the paratrooper tax. You know, islands especially are vulnerable because, you know, especially with this so much dead zone power by the Soviet Air Force. This Navy, you know, has to be very cautious about when and where it moves and how it moves. And so it's just cheapest to probably just pay the paratrooper tax and just get those guys out on the islands. So yeah, wow. Whew, thank God I didn't forget that during purchase. We collect 35, and with the 6 we saved, that comes up to 41. Let me organize the map, and then we'll go right into the USA turn. Okay, we're ready to rock for the USA's turn. We'll start with the spiral. We go for diplomacy, of course. Miss. We'll roll right into the free tech, nuke weapons. Oh, there it is. We got the launcher. Okay, so that means this AA gun can sling this nuke 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. So we can nuke anywhere up and down this this position. We'll go ahead and mark that breakthrough right here, and the next one is fusion weapons, which turns the nuke into a 10-piece killer. Yeah, right. So the way nukes work in this game is all you need to do, is successfully deploy the nuke, and I'll go through the process when we actually do that, like dropping it and all that, or firing it, or whatever. There's a kind of a process of things that happen, and things can go wrong, but if you pass through all the hurdles, then the nuke detonates and it automatically kills either 5 or 10 based on whether we have fusion weapons or fission weapons or fusion weapons. Fission weapons kill 5, fusion weapons kill 10. So, you know, that's nice. I mean, we were kind of set up for that, and you know, again, understanding the probabilities. When you there's, and this is just to show you, when you throw 3 dice, in this case we're calling it tech dice, you can get a 1 outright by the 3rd turn 42% of the time, and this doesn't include you know, any combination of 2s that would get you the nuke. So it's somewhere around 50% that by turn 3 you have the launcher. And so that's why I like to kind of have this gun in position on Marcus Island set to hurl the nuke. It's much safer than having to drop it by bomber. And of course more convenient now the bombers can do other things. And I'm going to run the video long, but it's probably worth it. This goes into the whole concept of what I call the 3rd dimension in this game. You know, these spies are a 3rd dimension. Tech is kind of a 3rd dimension, always kind of was, really. But especially so in this game because both sides essentially get a free tech die each turn. So something's going to pop eventually with all these dice getting thrown, even if you're only looking for a 1. And I kind of include strategic bombing raids. I was about to say SBR in on that too. You know, AA guns, or the failure of those guns to hit and the resultant dice rolls that IPCs, you know, magically disappear off the map. That's another part of the 3rd dimension. And so the NATO has hucked 9 dice from spirals from turn 2 and 3 now. That's 6, and then the tech rolls. That's 3. We've hucked 9 dice, and we've captured 2 ones. This is not insane. You know, hucking 9 dice here, as you can see, is going to happen 81% of the time. So it's more of a matter. It's just a matter of where it lands, really. At any rate, the USA is going to purchase 15. Is it 15? Yeah, I think we needed 15. Let me double check that. Yeah, it's 15, and so we'll have 4 IPCs left. Right. Okay. Okay, all of our attacks are Pacific side. Actually, there's just 2 of them. So we'll just quickly go through this, try to get through this quickly. I know this video is going long. So first, we have 1 transport come down, pick up 2 infantry, and shuck back up into North Korea, an amphibious attack which will activate the battleship. So I'll move that here. And we're going to support it with 2 fighters, 1 from the sea zone adjacent, and 1 from the carrier to the north. 1, 2. So we got 2 fighters, 2 infantry, and 1 offshore. That puts us at about 95% on clearing in the first round. I'm trying to mitigate casualties by avoiding a second round here, dispersing my firepower. And Kamchatka has 2 infantry, not 1, so we're going to load up on this single transport. There is automatically an 11% chance we fail to capture the territory. I'm just going to eat that. This fighter comes off of Western Canada, 1, 2. This fighter comes off the carrier here, 1. The bombers both tag team it, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. Okay. And that's right now the same percentage of clearing it on the first round, but we're going to just kick it up a little bit higher and add in this cruiser. So we have a battleship, a cruiser offshore, and then in case those don't work, we're obviously stomping it. I think I'll make mention now that I usually do a lot of strategic bombing raids, but given that the diplomacy breakthrough on China went so early, and things have otherwise seemingly gone steady enough, I've avoided that. I don't know if that was good or bad. Usually, I feel like NATO needs to do SBRs, but I don't know. I keep finding decent work for our bombers, and they're not just sitting still, so I'm okay with it. Okay, here we go. Round 1, Kamchatka. We have the offshores at the top here, and if they fail to clear the territory, which is a tall order, then we have the infantry, fighters, and bombers. Okay, should be pretty easy to smash this in the first round. Cruiser connects, the battleship does not, the infantry miss, the fighters miss, the bomber we just barely got 2 kills. The Russians roll back with 1. Okay, roll back with 1. Do they pick up a kill? No. So let's mop up this territory. But there it is, you know, that's why you gotta be, I don't know, that's why I really try to pay attention to the details. 1, 2, and 1, 2. And finally, North Korea. Okay, this one's a lot easier, just a battleship with 2 infantry and 2 fighters. So, yeah, North Korea should take care of it. The battleship missed, everybody else hit. So yeah, the Russians get to roll 1 back. Okay, and no. Wow, I guess if you're on the attack, this the gods are favoring the attacker. Man, that was a... And we took out 8 Soviet infantry, although 2 succumbed to offshore. Between the remaining 6, there should have been 2 kills, and that's not counting percentages for second rounds of combat, potential second rounds. So yeah, just sort of back and forth, back and forth. Okay, now we move to the non-combat movement phase. Okay, let's go through this quickly. This cruiser heads back to the Red Sea to help protect the NATO fleet from the Soviet air power, which is actually comes pretty close, uncomfortably close. Okay, American cruisers will drop down to here. The bomber can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, cannot reach. So then we shuck with these transports, pulling the 2 off of Iceland, dropping them into France, pulling this 1 off of Quebec, dropping them into France. I think that takes care of this side of the map, and then, oh, no, it doesn't. We got 2 infantry in East US that move Quebec. Okay, so all very boring logistics stuff. On the east side, now we do the build-up. Okay. These 2 transports, I'm going to do these all at once. And these 3 transports all come down, and we're going to pick up 6 infantry from Japan and drop them into South Korea. This transport shucks the armor into South Korea. Okay, the aircraft doesn't really matter. I guess we'll put them here, the bombers, one of them goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, yeah, it doesn't matter, and lands on the Marcus. We're ignoring the Soviet cruiser. Yes, I know he's up in the Chukchi Sea. We're just going to leave him there. And, I don't know. I guess he goes to the Philippines. The guy had 4 movement, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so the guy with 4 movement left goes Philippines? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, because he can still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if he needs to. Yeah, that looks like it's got the most reach. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. That's what we're doing. 1, 2, 3, 4 lands Alaska. Yeah, okay, so we're doing that. One final movement. We'll move the Americans based in France down to Italy, bringing their numbers up to 7 down in Italy. Notice these tanks are not able to hit France, so just those 23 infantry and a bomber are able to. Yeah. Yeah, so we will stick with this. So, okay, placement. Drop 1 in Alaska, 6 in Japan. Keep these people fat and happy out here. Let's split off 2 and drop in the Philippines. 6, 7, 8, 9. 2. Now this is a mainland. This doesn't need transports. It's our first build on dry land on the big continent. Just trying to keep this ahead of the transports here. I don't want them to. I want them to. They shall want for nothing. Split off 2, so 2 into there and 2 into there. All about logistics, 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 logistics. Okay. USA is now up to 47, and with the 4 we saved, we'll have 51. Probably gonna have to start thinking about buying something other than infantry, but that's for the next video. Thanks for watching this. All the best from the good captain, and bye-bye.